Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing the 2020 adaptation of Rebecca. So, before I do head into my thoughts and feelings on this 2020 adaptation of Rebecca, just a quick warning, I don't plan on doing anything with spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen this adaptation, or if you haven't even read the book by Daphne du Maurier, yeah, no spoilers in here. But yeah. Point of the comment system down below this video if you want to talk about spoilers, just go into any more details that perhaps I don't get into in this video. Please feel free to talk with me down below because I would really appreciate it. So let's get going. 2020 adaptation of Rebecca based off of the book by Daphne du Maurier, and this is really weird, you guys, because I personally really had no idea that this movie was going to be coming out this year on Netflix. It was not on my radar. I hadn't even heard about it, but it's just weird because earlier this year, I think back early in the summer, I had read the book by Daphne du Maurier, and then I found out like a couple weeks after I had read the book that this movie was coming out on Netflix, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I just finally read this book because I know Rebecca, it's one of those literary classics, and I feel like I'm the last person to have read that book, and so it kind of just worked out, that timing, that I was able to read the book, and then, you know, here a couple months later I was able to see an adaptation of it. So that was really crazy. So yeah, I'm going to give you guys, if you don't know what Rebecca is about, I'm going to give you what the IMDb summary is for this particular movie. It says, a young newlywed arrives at her husband's imposing family estate on a windswept English coast and finds herself battling the shadow of his first wife, Rebecca, whose legacy lives on in the house long after her death. And that's all you need to know. Yeah, guys, seriously, Rebecca is one of those stories. Like I said, it's a literary classic for a reason. It's one of those stories that the less you know about it, the better. Because prior to me even reading the book by Daphne du Maurier, I mean, I had no clue what the book was about. I just knew that the title referred to the husband in this, Maxim de Winter. I know that it just referred to his first wife, Rebecca, and that he was getting newly married to an unnamed narrator. That's kind of the big thing of the book. The narrator has no name. She's only ever referred to by, you know, the last name of her husband, as Mrs. de Winter, essentially. So yeah, that's all you need to know. The less you know, the better. I think the more enjoyable you'll find it, and, you know, trying to unravel all this mystery and suspense and, you know, kind of these thriller aspects as well. So yeah. Something else I want to make note of at the start of this video as well, because I found this very frustrating when I was reading early reviews for this particular adaptation. A lot of reviewers just, they kept saying, you know, little that sarcastic remarks in their reviews like, oh, this is why you don't remake Hitchcock. And I was like, that just sounds really stupid, because this adaptation, the way I see it, it's not remaking the Hitchcock classic of Rebecca. And yeah, I have never, let me make that known, I have never seen the Hitchcock adaptation of Rebecca. When was it made? In the 1940s? I think I wrote down it was made in like 1940. I have never seen that adaptation. So yeah, for the purposes of this video, I mean, I have nothing to compare this adaptation to other than the book by Daphne du Maurier. But yeah, I just thought that was really stupid, and a lot of these reviewers, their reviews, I just thought it was stupid that they were saying, oh, this is why you don't remake Hitchcock. The thing is, this adaptation is not a remake of the Hitchcock movie. This is just an adaptation of the book by Daphne du Maurier. You know what I mean? This is not coming off of the Hitchcock movie. You know, it just sounded really stupid and ignorant to me. People saying, oh, This is why you don't remake Hitchcock. Like I said, this is a remake of the book. It's not a remake of that movie, if that makes sense. Does it make sense to you? Because it makes sense to me. So yeah, before I get into some of my issues with this movie, because I did kind of have some issues, but a lot of it just has more to do with, I guess, the book and how this movie came across at times. So yeah, I'll talk about my positives here really quickly, because overall, I did really thoroughly enjoy this movie. I had a great time with it. I'm glad I read the book prior to going into the movie, because I think it definitely gave me a greater appreciation and experience with the movie. But yeah, overall, I did really like this adaptation. For the most part, I thought it was very well done. It's a very gorgeous, beautiful looking movie. Yeah, guys, just absolutely stunning. The cinematography and everything, the locations. It has quite a nice budget, I think. And then the location of Manderley, because Manderley is like the ancestral home of Maxim de Winter and his family. The location of Manderley, what they used to represent Manderley, stunning, you guys. It's like, oh, I want to live here. Can I live here? Please, let me live here. And the movie it just has this really beautiful scope and look to it. It doesn't like cut any corners, I feel like. You know, it doesn't cut any corners for budget purposes. It tries to make use of what it can use. So yeah, everything about the movie looked great. In general, I did like the cast. This movie has a fantastic cast, you guys. But I'll get to that in some of my negatives. I do feel like this movie kind of underused some of these people and didn't let some of these people have enough time to shine, if that makes sense. But yeah, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I think the movie it definitely captured some of that tension that's there in the book, you know. I think it definitely captured a lot of that atmosphere, that gothic, you know, uncertain atmosphere of the book. And I guess kind of heading into what my big negative with this adaptation is, I think what this adaptation kind of loses, there's a couple things that this adaptation loses. You know, the book has a lot of very delicate, intricate nuance. There's so much going on every single page of what Daphne du Maurier has written, and there's so much detail and like I said, just a lot of nuance and intricate and delicate plot and character that has to be navigated, because then by the time you get to the end of the book, a lot of stuff that seems kind of random, a lot of stuff does finally connect, and it's like, oh, okay. So I do feel like this adaptation, just because of the nature of the book, you know, after all, this adaptation is only like 2 hours. It's a 2-hour movie, essentially. And there's only so much you can do in the movie, I suppose. Because a lot of the depth and really intricate material is on the written page, and that's kind of hard to physically show in a movie format, you know what I mean? So I do feel like the adaptation loses some of those delicate little threads, you know, to really weave in a fantastic story. And then another big thing that this adaptation is kind of lacking, and I think this is kind of the problem with any sort of adaptation where its source material is from a first-person perspective. The book by Daphne du Maurier, your unnamed narrator, she is who you are in the headspace of. You are reading the book first person, through her eyes, through her point of view. So in some ways she comes across as this bit of an unreliable narrator because you are in her head. She doesn't know all the information out there, so you're with her when she's feeling these moments of panic and paranoia, uncertainty, depression. She doesn't know why her husband even married her. Does he even love her? What's up with this mysterious figure of the dead wife, Rebecca? Why does everybody love her so much, you know? And yet she feels like she can't compete with this entity, with this presence. So you get to experience all of that in her headspace in the book through the first person perspective. So with this adaptation, obviously you're losing that perspective. You know, this perspective is not a first person perspective, obviously. You're witnessing everything with all these other characters, and Lily James, I mean, Lily James did a fantastic job with what she could do, obviously. You know, trying to convey certain emotions, you know, convey that this character is really shy and timid, and she has very incredibly low self-esteem. But she has this incredible journey that she has to go through to kind of become the woman that she wants to become and become the wife that she wants to be and whatnot. So you don't get all those nuances, unfortunately, with the character of the unnamed narrator, Mrs. De Winter. You don't get all those little intricate nuances and details with her, because you can't sometimes tell what exactly is she feeling. You know, Lily James, the actress, she can only do so much with the performance, you know what I mean? Compared to the book, where the book, you have that benefit of being directly in her headspace, and then as soon as something happens, you get that immediate reaction and thought process from the character. So yeah, you are definitely losing that in this adaptation, unfortunately. You know, what exactly is she thinking? You know, you can only base it off of what Lily James is physically kind of showing on her face and what her body language is, and that's kind of the only amount of depth you can get from that. So yeah, that was kind of my negatives there. I do want to head into the cast very quickly. Like I said, in general, I really like this cast. I do think a lot of them were kind of underused. I already mentioned a lot with Lily James. She's great as always. I loved her in Downton Abbey. I loved her in that adaptation of Cinderella. She's a great young, up and rising actress. I always love seeing her and stuff. I think Lily James did great. Like I said, she did great with what she was given. There's only so much she can convey with her body language and with her face, because a lot of it, you know, it's like it is in how it is in the book. You know, a lot of it is first person. You don't get her thought process. You know, you don't really get any sort of narration like what she's thinking. I do feel like on occasion sometimes her performance can be a little bit melodramatic, but I kind of felt that way with a lot of the characters. I felt like there was a lot of melodrama going on, and sometimes a bit of maybe too much acting, you know, kind of run back the acting sometimes. But I mean, that's kind of the nature of this story. It's a very melodramatic story in general. There's a lot of craziness and weirdness kind of going on anyway. Armie Hammer playing Maxim de Winter. I was really excited about Armie Hammer in this, because I really like Armie Hammer, and I feel like he doesn't get to do much. I liked him in this. I do feel like the writing kind of did him a little dirty on occasion, because and that's not really the fault of that's not really the fault of Armie Hammer at all. You know, it's kind of just the nature of how the character of Maxim de Winter is. Maxim de Winter, he's very mysterious. He's kind of quick to temper and mood, and that's a lot of just kind of what's going on in this story, is a lot of this mystery and tension with him. You know, why is he behaving the way that he is? You know, because every time his dead first wife is brought up, you know, he acts very strangely, and it kind of gives the unnamed narrator kind of gives her a lot of, you know, unease as well. You know, like, why is he treating me like this? I don't understand, you know. So sometimes Armie Hammer, like I said, it's not really the fault of him, it's just kind of the nature of the writing and the nature of the character, that sometimes the character does come across as a little bit dull sometimes. You don't entirely understand him. But I thought Armie Hammer did great with what he was given. And he did. He looked fantastic. as Maxim de Winter. I loved him. He looked great. I think him and Lily James had some very good chemistry together. Playing the character of Mrs. Danvers, who is like the housekeeper of Manderley, if you will, she's played by Kristen Scott Thomas. She is a highlight of this movie, you guys. Mrs. Danvers is just so creepy and really strange, and it's like, okay, what is she up to? What's her motives? What's her agendas? You know, she is so devoted to the running of Manderley. She was so devoted to Rebecca. Why is there that devotion? Why does she hate our unnamed narrators so much? So yeah, Kristen Scott Thomas just plays this role with a very subtle villainy, which I love. I love subtle villainy, you know, instead of like over the top villainy. So yeah, I loved Kristen Scott Thomas. She was really remarkable in this role. And then, like I said, there were a lot of really great actors in here that were vastly underused that kind of play slightly bigger, more important characters in the book, and I felt like the roles were kind of reduced in this. We have Ben Crompton, who plays the character of Ben. In the book, Ben is kind of mentally handicapped, and I really don't feel like that came across in this adaptation. And yeah, the character of Ben is just kind of there briefly, and they don't do much with him, and he's kind of to me, I felt like he was a very integral character in the book, and yet they don't do anything with him in this adaptation. And then the character of Jack, played by Sam Riley. Jack is a very interesting character as well. It's like, where is he balancing here? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? What was up with his relationship with Rebecca? Even Sam Riley, it's like, I liked what he was doing with this character, but yeah, it's like even himself, he wasn't given that much to do as well. He kind of pops up, like, I think way after the halfway point of this movie, and then yeah, he's only in a few scenes really. Man, I was really looking forward to Sam Riley, because I do like Sam Riley quite a lot. And then the character of Beatrice, who is the sister of Maxim de Winter, played by Keely Hawes, you guys. I freaking love Keely Hawes and every damn thing that she's ever in, and it was a crying shame that she was barely even used in this movie, you guys. It's like, why do you get Keely Hawes for such a small kind of role in here? The character of Beatrice, like I said, she's the sister of Maxim. Beatrice is a pretty big character in the book. She's kind of always there, kind of helping to do something or help explain something to our unnamed narrator. And yeah, it's like she kind of just shows up in a couple random scenes here and there, kind of when she needs to, and she's not really given much to do, but she performs her heart out, at least. But yeah, Keely Hawes, seriously, I love her as an actress, and yeah, I was kind of upset that she didn't get more to do in this particular adaptation. So yeah, that's what I was kind of talking about, actors being underused, because it's only a 2-hour movie. You guys, it's a 2-hour movie, and there's so much squeezed into this movie, and I kind of personally feel like if they could have gave this movie an additional 30 minutes, I feel like it could have been just really, really amazing. You know, maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe other people didn't want another 30 minutes. You know, maybe it'd been like, oh god, that's too much. But yeah, I think I would have been happy with maybe an additional 30 minutes to this movie to really just flesh out a lot of the stuff kind of going on in greater detail, you know. But oh well. But yeah, I personally really like this adaptation. I had a great time with it. I mean, obviously I read the book, so it's like I saw things coming a mile away, you know. I knew exactly where the plot was going and what some of the twists and turns were. But I don't think that really ruined my enjoyment at all. I really enjoyed it. If you have a Netflix account, I recommend it if you got 2 hours to spare. The reviews, all the other reviews online are just making it sound like this movie is god-awful, and I don't think it's that bad. It's not that bad. It's not perfect. It's definitely not a perfect movie by any means, but I think it's still wildly enjoyable for what it is. And I mean, there's far worse shitty movies out there compared to this. So you guys, that's it for my review of the 2020 adaptation of Rebecca. In the comments below, have you guys gotten around to the Netflix adaptation? Have you read the book? What are your thoughts and feelings on this adaptation? Did you love it? Did you hate it? If you hated it, that's okay. Because I tend to be just a much more positive person in general when I'm watching things. So yeah, just let me know your thoughts about this adaptation down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.